criticism is textual or ontological criticism. Now, what do we mean by this variety, this kind of literary criticism? In the textual kind of literary criticism, the exclusive focus is on the text. This is also a kind of intrinsic criticism where nothing is important beyond the text. There is no consideration for extrinsic factors. In other words, factors that are outside the text or external factors like the background, the socio-political milieu, the author's life, or the historical events that may have taken place. None of that is taken into account. Textual or ontological criticism focuses on structure, language, and diction, and the form of the literary text. And in fact, uh, a school of criticism which practices this kind of ontological criticism is the new critics. And in fact, this approach of literary criticism has led to quite a few newer interpretations which were unthought of hitherto. Psychological criticism is the result of the research of psychologists and psychological researchers like Freud, Jung, Bergson, and many more. In fact, Freud and Jung are their works are supposed to be canonical for psychological criticism. Psychological criticism focuses on the implicit meaning and alternate narratives that emerge from multiple readings of the text. So, psychological criticism doesn't look at what is on the surface. It rather reads between the lines and tries to infer the implicit, the implied meaning, the indirect, the embedded meaning, and the alternative narratives and the thematic concerns in the alternative narratives. So it studies the text in the light of the interior life of the writer. So, what is going on in the writer's subconscious mind? Because Freud came up with this idea of the conscious mind and then the subconscious mind. So, the subconscious mind or the individual unconscious is that part of the mind which is repressed, which normally manifests itself through dreams, through slips, and according to these critics, it also manifests involuntarily in creative expressions, so in works of art. So, psychological criticism involves tracing of unconscious and involuntary manifestations, which could be the writer's repressed emotions. Now, over here, I have a picture of this famous notion which was presented in the literary work of two critics, Sandra Gilbert and Susan Gubar, and it's called The Mad Woman in the Attic. Now, you can see over here, the picture makes it very clear that there's this woman who doesn't look normal, and she's holding the bars of the window and standing in an aggressive posture. So, in fact, these two critics, Gilbert and Gubar, use the imagery of this woman as a metaphor to describe the writers, the woman writers imprisoned, jailed consciousness of the writer, the woman writer's imprisoned creative expression. Because as a woman writer, she's not free to write whatever she wants to. She obviously has to go back the tradition of literary paternity. So she is in a way incarcerated by tradition.